Classic. Hello, I think this works now. Thank you, John, for letting me know. Yep. And we're back. Okay, so I was saying today I'm going to set up automated deployments from GitHub, starting from scratch. I don't even have a VPS, or an application. So we're going to do all that in about 30 minutes, up to 45. We'll see how it goes. It's the first stream. You never know. And nice, it's working. Okay, well, people will be starting to come in, at least a few. So let's just get going. So I just published this tutorial this week, and I'm basically going to follow along and yeah, and see if what I wrote even works. It should work, and I'm going to show you guys how if you have your own VPS, or if you're just interested to know how this is done and how PSs like Heroku or Netlify and Vercel do it, how automated deployments are work. There's many ways to do it, but this is just one way. Like with many things in DevOps, you can use different tools, different approaches to accomplishing different stuff. And this is one such approach. So the goal for today is to have a workflow where the production application is always in sync with the repository main branch. This is useful in case you're debugging and you don't have to look up or wait, which code is in live right now. Is it the latest commit on the main branch? Is it a few commits back? Did this pull request make it through? You don't have to worry about that. So this is quite useful. So that means that the latest commit on the main branch is always the same code that runs the live application. Moreover, it's pretty productive workflow when you can just push to GitHub, or we're going to be using GitHub today, but you can do this with Bitbucket or GitLab as well. It's very productive if you can just push to GitHub and have your live application restarted in a few seconds, maybe minutes, depends on your build time, and see the changes live pretty quickly. So that's pretty neat. There's a few requirements. Well, let's see first. We're going to do this in 3 steps. First step is to add a webhook on GitHub repository, which will call our endpoint every time we push to it. And we'll create this endpoint with using Webhook library, which is a very neat library that creates a server. The input is a JSON file. That's the configuration file. And just by writing a JSON file, it starts a server and creates an endpoint. And you can configure the endpoint with a JSON file, and it's going to listen for that webhook call from GitHub. And it's pretty neat because we don't have to create a server and set up our routes and endpoint and all that. It does this stuff for us. So that's a time saver. And it's going to call a redeploy script every time it's receiving a call from a request from GitHub. And we're going to write this script as the last step, which will fetch our latest commit from GitHub. We'll install the dependencies, build the application if needed, and restart the app with the new code. Those are basically the 3 steps we're going to go through today. But before we do that, there's a few requirements. We need to have a VPS instance with SSH access we can log into and run commands as root or sudo. And we're going to need a Node.js application running live on that VPS. That is also version controlled on GitHub. And we'll also need to have a reverse proxy. In this case, we're going to use Nginx and some knowledge of configure it. The reverse proxy is going to come in handy because basically all incoming requests, all public requests on a server will come through port 80 or 443 if it's HTTPS, and we're going to have two servers running. We're going to have our application that's usually running on port 3000, like all Node.js applications, and we're going to have the webhook server listening for requests from GitHub, and that is going to run on a different port, and Nginx will function as a reverse proxy that will route requests to different application, to both of these applications, depending on where it's coming from. So we're going to set up that up as well. So we're going to start with this because right now we don't have any of these. Let's start with creating a VPS. I'm going to use DigitalOcean and create a droplet. I'm just going to go with a Node.js image from the marketplace. That's going to save us a little bit of time, not having to install Node.js and npm and all that. And I'm going to go for the tiniest droplet here. We don't need a volume. Choose a data center. I'm going to choose Amsterdam 3 since that's the closest to my location. Don't need a private network. None of these either. SSH key. So I already have my public SSH key uploaded to my DigitalOcean account, and I'm going to use that to log into the server for the first time. One droplet, this is the name, that's fine. No tags, no backups. This should be good. I'm waiting a little bit. Usually this takes about 30 seconds. Not much. By the way, if you have any questions, if I'm going through stuff too fast or if something's unclear, but just curious to know how something works a bit better, let me know. I'll be happy to explain. Some things might feel natural to me. I've been doing it many times, but therefore I might skip explanations of some things. So don't feel afraid to ask. I'm always keeping an eye on the chat here on my phone. All right. So we have the VPS here. Let's copy the IP address, open up a terminal, and log in as root. Since this is the first time we're logging in, it's asking us that if we want to save the fingerprint of the server so that whenever it changes, it's going to warn us, hey, this is a new fingerprint. There must be someone in the middle, or known as a man-in-the-middle attack, that is rerouting your SSH connection to a different server and then trying to sniff your commands. So yeah, let's add it. We're in. All right, this is the standard welcome message from the Node.js image. It's saying that the firewall is enabled, so that's good. We wanted to do that anyway. What I'm going to do first, which is a standard routine that I do every time I create a new VPS, is to set up some basic default security stuff. And I'm going to do that based on, I wrote a different article a few months back on how to secure your VPS. Here it is. And I also have a let's do that. I'm going to use a cheat sheet that you can just download here at the bottom if you drop in your email. And this cheat sheet is just like a summary of the article that is very quick to they can quickly follow along and kind of like sneak peek to if you want to whenever you spin up a new VPS or if you want to do these steps. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's do this and up here and terminal down. Here we go. That's neat. Okay. So first we want to usually what I usually do is set up a non-root user. So I don't use root user as a default, and then maybe perhaps because the root user has unprivileged access to a server, it can do anything, and preventing any mistakes or screw ups that I make, or just someone gaining access to the root servers and a root user and then having limited access to the server. It's a good measure to create a non-root user that you will use by default every time you log in, and that user will have less privileges than the root user. But every time you need to do a command running as root or sudo, you can just do that, but you'll have to type in a password. So that's kind of like a second step for you to say, hey, do I really want to run this command as root? And also it's a bit safer. So let's do that. Add user. I'm gonna name it Maxim. Passwords. I'm just gonna choose a password. Yep. I'm gonna press enter, leave everything for default. Yes. Okay, there we have it. I'm going to add the sudo group to the user with the usermod command, usermod -a capital G sudo. Sudo is the group, Maxim is the user. I'm going to add the sudo group to the user so that I can run commands as root. Now I'm going to log in I'm gonna log in into the user. There we are. And I need to add my public SSH key to the user's authorized keys file so that I can SSH directly from my local machine into the user, so that I don't have to go through root and then to access to log in as the user, because we're going to disable logging in as root in the next step. So let's do that. I'm going to make a directory in my home folder called .ssh, and I'm going to change the permissions of this folder so only I can read, write, or execute it. This is required by the SSH command line utility. Otherwise, it's going to complain that the files are not secure enough and reject our key. And then I'm going to create a file called authorized_keys in that folder with nano. And I need to paste my public key in here. So I'm going to open a new tab in the terminal and use pbcopy to copy the my public key, which is under my home folder on my local machine .ssh and then id_rsa.pub, and I'm gonna copy paste it. Yep, there it is. I'm gonna write out the file and exit, and I'm gonna change the permissions of this file as well to only be readable and writable by the user, the author. Okay. This should be it. Let's test and see if it works before we go on and disable logging in as root, so we don't shut ourselves out from our server. We don't want that. What was the IP address again? I'm gonna copy it. Yeah. Yeah, works as expected. So we can go ahead and disable root login, and I think password login should be disabled by default from DigitalOcean, because we chose to authenticate with an SSH key, not with a password. But let's verify that anyway. So we need to change the file called sshd_config, and we need to use sudo for that. So now I'm in this file and I'm looking for two values. I'm looking for perimeter root login and password authentication. I'm going to set both of these values to no. Here it is, perimeter login is yes. I'm going to change that to no. So we're going to disable root login. And password authentication is already set to no. So don't need to change anything there. I'm going to save this file. and exit. And let's, before we do that, I need to reload the SSH daemon so it picks up the new configuration. Okay, let me log out from the other session and try and log in as root to verify that it worked. Yeah, permission denied means we're not able to log in as root anymore on this new server. Perfect. And the third step on this cheat sheet is to enable the firewall, but I think it's already enabled from the Node.js image. Let's verify that. Yeah, it's active. So we see we have Nginx full. I think that means ports 80 and 443, HTTP for HTTP and HTTPS. Those are open, and port 22, that's the port we use for SSH, and everything else is disabled by default, is closed down. So that's good. Don't need to do anything there. And I usually also just enable automatic security updates for the OS packages, so I don't have to worry about those. After a while, after you create a VPS, it's going, like if you log in a week later or several months later, it's going to give you a notice, hey, you can update 50 packages, of which 30 are security updates. And it's if you enable automatic updates, that's always going to be up to date, and you don't have to manually worry about those. So that's nice. Let me see if I typed in the command correctly. Priority low. Yeah. Nope. I made a typo. Yep. Okay. Great. So we're done with this. We have a decently secure server, secure as it can be with least amount of effort, and we're being a good citizen of the cloud. I got a question from John. If I just have a Node.js Express server, is Nginx of any help? You're not. It's not required to use Nginx if you just have one application on your server. You can just do without it by having your application listen to port 80 directly, and that will work. But there's a few advantages to using Nginx. First of all, listening to any port that's under 1024, that's lower than that, so that includes port 80 and 443. Listening to those ports requires root access, which means you'll have to run your application as root to listen to those ports, to accept incoming traffic from the public directly. And that exposes a security threat, because if your application gets compromised in a way, and someone can gain access to your server through the application, then that user automatically has root access as well, because your application runs as root. Whereas if you run your application as the Node.js user, which we'll do later, or any different user that's not root and has less privileges, if your application app gets compromised, the intruder only will gain access to your server, but will not be able to do anything under that requires root permissions, and therefore completely wreck your server. So at least you're protected from that. Second reason is that if you want to add an application later on, you'll need to use a reverse proxy in some kind of way, because only one application can listen to the same port, and incoming traffic, HTTP and HTTPS, come through ports 80 and 443 respectively. So if you want to have two apps hosted on the same server that are accepting incoming requests, you'll have to use a reverse proxy that will route traffic to each of those apps. So then, yeah, you'll have to use Nginx as a later step as well. But if you just plan to host one app, that's not really an issue. And a third, well, there's many more advantages, but a third one that I can think of right now is that Nginx is also a bit, well, it's not per se quicker, but it's just nice to not have stuff like serving public assets or terminating the SSL connection, having that responsibility outside of your application. So for example, if you have secure requests coming in, then if you don't use Nginx or Apache or a different reverse proxy, you'll have to configure your app to with SSL certificates, and then it's going to listen on port 443 as well, take in any incoming request, and then it's going to verify the SSL connection with the client and see if it's secure. And then if it is, then it's going to actually process the request and so on. And that's an additional responsibility for your server and something you have to set up as well in your Express file. And also, I haven't tested it. I'm not sure of any benchmarks that compare it, but Nginx is usually better and more efficient at doing this kind of stuff. So it uses less resources, and also your application just has more resources to actually handle the request and do database queries and so on. And it doesn't have to worry about all the stuff. So that's why I usually go with Nginx, also because I'm familiar with using it, configuring it. It's a bit easier, but you don't have to. I think there's plenty of people that just don't use reverse proxy and are. I can understand if you're scared of Nginx and it seems daunting at first. So if you don't want to use it, that's fine. It's just it's neither in the long run if you want to though. So. Yeah, I hope that answered your question, John. All right, so let's continue. We've got the first requirement down. Okay, we have a secure VPS access, we do have SSH access, and we can run commands as sudo. Perfect. Let's get hey, Simon, glad to have you here. Hello, welcome. So let's go on with the second requirement before we follow the tutorial, and that's having a Node.js app on our VPS. I actually have an app already that's on a GitHub Node.js demo app. It's a very basic app, just the most basic Node.js server you can ever imagine of. It doesn't even use Express. It uses the HTTP module, creates a basic server, and listens on every request. It doesn't specify any routes, and then just answers with a hello world. And then that's basically it. Very simple server. I think I'm going to use that. It's just easier not to have to write it. I said I'm going to do everything from scratch, but writing this 11 lines of code is not much of a head start. So I'm now in my home folder. There's a few stuff in there, but nothing special. I'm going to clone this repository, and let me copy the okay, should be in there. Perfect. Let's go inside it. I don't think I have any dependencies, so it's not really useful to do an npm install, but we don't have to do that. And I think I can just start the app if I'm not mistaken. Let's verify first that we have Node.js, npm, and pm2 installed. That came with our Node.js image. Node is installed, version 12, that's enough. npm as well, and pm2. Yeah, it's. I'm using the which command to. How do I explain this? So the which command, like if you want to see if you have a CLI tool available, you can just type which and then the name of the command of the tool, and it's going to tell you if it found it or not on your machine or on the server or whatever. So here it says me, yeah, we have the binary and it's placed in this folder. So which means we can run PM2 commands or whatever. But if it's not available, like any gibberish, then it's not going to output anything, which means that command is not available. So that's what I usually do as well, to find out if I have a tool installed. So we have all of those three. That's good. I'm going to start the app, and I'm going to do that under the Node.js user. So I'm going to use sudo user sudo-u Node.js, and then run the command pm2 start index.js, which is the entry point for this application. There's just one file, so that's going to be it. And I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Node.js demo. So that's classic. I'm going to have to resort to the docs as well. --app-name is not an option. Great. I think it was it name? Ah, it's just --name. Great. Awesome. Got it. Oh, I can see already there's another app running by default. I think that comes with the Node.js image. I'm going to get rid of that app. So I can just do delete 0, which is the ID of the app. Oh, I can see my app errored. Why did it error? I can check out the logs. I need to do this. Or I can just maybe... no, that's not going to work. Oh, no, okay. I'll have to run these commands as sudo every time I want to do anything. Okay, what happened here? The port is in use. Oh, that's what I thought. So the app that was already running from the Node.js image, the hello app, here, the hello app, before it was already using that port, which made my own app crash. So I'm going to restart the app, my own app, restart Node.js demo. Okay. And let's check the logs. Server started. Okay, I think we're good. And can I verify? I think the reverse proxy is already set up by the image, and it's forwarding requests to this port. So I think I can already verify that the app is running by just going to the IP address. Yeah, there it is. Hello world version 8. That's exactly what we're returning from here. So we got that set up, but I'm going to dive into the reverse proxy a bit later when we set up Webhook, and I'm going to show you how that actually looks like. But for now, we're good. Let's go back to the tutorial. So we have our app running. It's version controlled, great, and we have a reverse proxy running, great. Okay, I think we can just go ahead and set up the auto deploys from GitHub. So what we're gonna accomplish is that the end goal is to just edit this file, and I'm gonna return a different string, and then a few moments later I'm going to go to the app, refresh it, and we're gonna see the change appear without any manual work of deploying ourselves or anything, just making a change, pushing to the repository. In this case, I'm just going to make the change on github.com. It's easier, but the SS is the same, and then we'll see it live pretty soon after. So that's the end goal. We're going to start with the first step, and that's adding a repository webhook on github.com. So we're going to go to the repository, settings, and on the left-hand side, webhooks, and we're going to add a webhook for this repository. It's asking for a password. Confirm. Okay. So first is the payload URL. This is the endpoint that GitHub is going to call every time we push, or the webhook is triggered, which is in this case on the push event, every time we push to the repository. You can use if you have a VPS set up with the domain and all, you can just use your domain name. But since I don't have that, I'm just going to use the server IP like this, and that should work. I could also cheat a little bit and do 9000, which is going to go straight to the webhook server, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use the reverse proxy to forward requests to the webhook server. Moreover, this will not work right off the bat because I have this port closed on the VPS. So since we configured it to be secure, this port is closed, so there's no way to access the webhook server directly from the outside without going through Nginx. Then we're going to select application JSON as the content type because that's what webhook library expects. And then a secret. The secret is basically something that you agree with GitHub to determine that the incoming request, that the webhook call is legitimate, because anyone who gets access to this endpoint can restart your application. So you want to prevent that by agreeing or with GitHub beforehand on a secret that GitHub will use whenever it calls that endpoint, and then Webhook is going to verify if the secret actually matches what we configure Webhook with later on. And by the way, I forgot to say that here we're going to use /hooks to forward requests to Webhook, because if we just do the bare bones, we'll have to figure out. It's just easier to do hooks because we can tell Nginx like, hey, all requests coming in on this path should go to Webhook, and that's just easier configuration. Otherwise, we'll have to look at the request headers and figure out, hey, is this the GitHub call, or is this just like a regular call that's meant for the application from a client? So we're going to use that. And then also another thing is that actually you don't need to use Node.js app because we're gonna. Oh yeah. And then Node.js app, because in case you want to have more applications that have automated deploys, then you'll actually need the whole string, because we'll configure our reverse proxy such that all hooks, also all requests coming to the hooks path will go to Webhook, and then it's gonna prepend everything after this path is gonna prepend to the URL, and then Webhook is gonna receive a request at Node.js-app. So it's going to say like, okay, this is the application that actually wants to get restarted. If you have several, then you're gonna have multiple endpoints running at the same time. So and you're gonna configure a webhook for each app so that webhook knows which app to restart. So that's how we tell webhook, hey, I want you to restart or redeploy the Node.js app, which we'll configure in the second step. So I'm gonna show you how. But back to the secret, I like to use this handy little tool, randomkeygen.com, to generate, to generate secrets. Doesn't really matter. Let's go with Fort Knox just for the fun. There. This is a nifty little tool to just that generates strings, and whenever you need a string for a cookie secret or whatever else, you can come here and just pick up a string that you find secure enough. It has, yeah, it even has web keys for different kind of stuff. So I'm gonna go with for now secure and paste it right here. I also need to remember this, so I'm going to save it somewhere. Where should I save it? I'm gonna open a yeah, let's just open a new note and just paste in here. Okay, I got it saved for later on. And which event would you like to trigger the webhook? I'll just leave this to default, just a push event. And we're gonna disable the webhook for now. We're gonna enable it later on when we are done with the server side of the configuration. And then add it. Okay, we have it here. Great. I think we're done with this step. Yep, great. We can go to the second one, and which is actually creating the webhook, the endpoint with webhook. We're going to go to the server. Let's navigate to the home folder, and then we'll need to install the webhook library using sudo apt install webhook. We need to use sudo because webhook is going to configure itself to start as a daemon, and it needs root privileges to do that. And then we use the apt command line tool to just do this, to use behind it's using the aptitude package repository from Ubuntu. Waiting a little bit. For the folks that have joined me later on, I said this in the beginning, if I'm going too quickly through some of the steps, or if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. I'll be gladly explain and make it a little bit clear what's going on. So we installed Webhook. We're good on that end. Let's go ahead and create a JSON configuration file for Webhook called hooks.json. We'll place this in the home folder. And I'm going to use the example from the tutorial. Just copy paste it in and edit a few things. So that's easier. Let's see. The ID is Node.js-app. So this needs to match with what we've used in the webhook on GitHub a bit earlier. So this right here, Node.js-app, needs to match with the ID, because the ID tells webhook what the endpoint is going to look like that's going to be called to redeploy this app. So that's good. And then we need to tell webhook like, hey, this is the command that, or this is the file or the command that I want you to run whenever the endpoint is called. And we're going to use a file to do all the stuff necessary to actually redeploy the app. So we're going to say, hey, run this file this is my home folder, and we're going to call it redeploy Node.js-app. That's good. We're going to create this file in the next step. So we don't have to worry about that. And then the working directory that the file is going to use. So that's just the folder of our app. And I think we have it. I'm gonna open a new terminal and log to the server to just make sure that we're using the right folder here. No, it's called Node.js-demo. Okay, so I think just to be consistent with our app name, I'm just going to rename this to demo, which I also need to rename the webhook on github.com. I'm going to update it. Yes, and then the script redeploy script will be called demo as well, and the folder where the project is running is demo. So that works. Our GitHub secret, we go, I pasted it here. Great. Everything else tells the same. That's basically telling Webhook. By the way, the trigger rule says, hey, I want you to execute the redeploy script only if both, or at least all the rules in this array are met. And there's two rules. The first rule is saying the payload needs to have this secret. So not the payload, the header. So it's looking here at the source header, and the header name is x-hub-signature, which is what GitHub is using to pass on the secret to us. And then we say that the secret is this, but it's going to be hashed. It's going to be an SHA1 hash of the secret. So Webhook is going to hash this string with SHA1, and then compare it with what we receive from GitHub. And if they match, then proceed. If not, then don't do anything. And then the second rule is to only redeploy if the endpoint is coming from the main branch. That is, if we push to the main branch, which is what we do, what we specify here, right here. So it's looking at the payload, and it's looking at the ref property, which is how the payload looks like from GitHub, and it needs to be equal to value of refs heads main. If your main branch is different, like for example, if you're using the older master or default or production, whatever, you change that. You change that here. But our main branch is just called main, as you can see here, main. So that's the branch that we want to listen to whenever we deploy our app. Okay, I'm going to save this file, exit, and go back to the tutorial, see what we also need to do. This is some explanations of the things. Okay. And then I can just go ahead and start Webhook with, I'm going to type this command, webhook-hooks, and then the configuration file, and then I'm going to end this with an ampersand because by default it's going to start in the foreground, and we want to free our terminal to do other stuff later on. So I'm going to start it in the background instead, and that's what the ampersand at the end does. Great, so it just outputs the process ID. It's running. Actually, I can verify if it's indeed running by just doing a request directly to Webhook. See what happens. Oh no, that's not going to work because we closed the port. No, okay. So I need to go to the reverse proxy and configure it. Okay, let's do that. Let's navigate to the configuration folder so it's easier. And then, what do we have in the main config file? Oh no. What does it look like? Okay. I think it just includes everything in sites enabled by default. So I'm going to go to sites enabled, which should be symlinks to sites available. Okay. And then I need to go to the actual file. Okay. What does it tell me that is unwritable? Oh, because I'm not opening it as sudo. Okay. What do we have in here? So it's listening on the default port, and then oh yeah, and then it's so this is the hello our Node.js demo app, which is let's create a new file in the sites available folder called webhook.conf, and I'm going to just use a basic reverse proxy configuration, nothing fancy, but I'm going to create a server block, and in this server block I'm going to tell Nginx to listen on port 80, and also on the port 80 on the new IP format, IPv6 format. And, so ideally you have to, if you're using a custom domain, you're also going to have server name directive with your domain, and then it's going to be a secure domain, so you're going to have your SSL configuration here as well, but we don't at the moment, so that's fine. And then the location is going to be the hooks. So this is what I mentioned earlier, is that we're gonna route requests, all requests that are coming on the hooks path to webhook. So, and anything else will go to our Node.js application. So that just makes configuration a little bit easier. If we hadn't done that, if we had created the webhook, let me go back to the webhook. If you just said, hey, just call this endpoint without the hooks, then we would have had to tell Nginx to determine to route the request to webhook through a different way to find out if that request should be routed to webhook to a different way, and then it should be done through by using a header instead of a location. You can do that as well, but I just find this easier. But in case this will conflict, if you have an application, if your own Node.js app links into this endpoint, if that's a valid request to your app, then it's not going to work because everything with /hooks is going to go to webhook. So you want to be mindful of that. And then I'm going to use the proxy pass directive to tell Nginx to route requests on local hosts, port 9000, that's where webhook is listening to, and then hooks. Okay, so this is going to route all the requests to coming in on this path to webhook, and it's just going to prepend anything that's after this path. So in this case, Node.js -demo is going to prepend it to in here, so webhook knows, hey, which app to redeploy. I think this should be good. Write it out. I made a huge mistake. I forgot to create this file as root. I'm going to copy the content so I don't have to write them again. Yes, okay, that should work. Great. Let's confirm. Awesome. Let's go back to sites enabled and create a symlink. Am I doing this right? I think I am. What's the... No, I always forget. It's source. I think it's source first. So sites available, webhook, and then webhook.conf. This should work. It doesn't. Oh wait, I need to use sudo again. I always trip over this. Oh wait. Nah, that should work. Okay, I wrote a tweet recently on how to do that. I always forget the command. Uh, did I though? It might be. Oh, here it is. So I need to do ln-s. Okay. I always trip over this command. Forget it. There we go. And then we should have a symlink to the sites available. So yeah, should have. No, it's fine. Um, Actually, I don't think it's fine. I'm gonna use. I'm gonna do this with absolute path, not the relative one. So this is a relative path. Might work, but I'm just to be consistent. Yeah. All right. So symlinks, basically, this is a smart way of using symlinks. Nginx, it's going to look, it's going to import any configuration files in this folder, in the sites enabled folder. And there's also a sites available folder. So all of your configuration for all of your applications and domains should be in the sites available folder. And then whenever you want to enable or disable configuration, you just remove or add a symlink to that file from the sites enable folder. So this is a pretty neat way if you just want to disable a access to an app. You just remove the file here, but you still have it in the other folder, so you don't have to create it again. And if you want if you want to enable later on, you just can add the symlink again. So that's easy. And then we'll just let's see. I think let's just restart. Um, let's just tell Nginx to pick up the new configuration and see if it works. I have no clue. Hooks. I don't think it does. It's routing requests to our app. Let's see. Okay. I think we need to go into our main configuration file and see what's going on. All right, basic settings, access logs. So here it is, in sites enabled, includes everything. That should work. Okay, that looks fine. But there's also this folder. What's in here? There's nothing in here. All right. Maybe it's the other. Oh, I think I know. It's the default configuration that's conflicting. Let's check what's in the other file. I'm just going to remove it. I don't think I need it. I have to use sudo. And I think it's this file that is that has a catch-all for the requests. Yeah, it is. I think Nginx picks up configuration in a cascading way. So if I just make this file to load as the second file after our webhook configuration, it should work, because this directive is saying, hey, all incoming requests on the default, on the root path, should go to this app, and we don't want that. So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to rename my webhook configuration to 01 dash webhook. So that is alphabetically before. So Nginx picks up, includes modular configurations in an alphabetical order. So this one comes before, and I will update the symlink as well. So the symlink is broken now. I'm just going to remove this and create a new one. Yeah. Oh, forgot sudo again. Great. And let's reload Nginx and try it again. No luck. Nope. Okay, this solution didn't work. I'll have to try something else. If anyone has suggestions, I'm open to try anything. Let's see. Maybe because that's the default server. Nah, it shouldn't be. What I can just do, I can create a new file that just routes requests to the app without all this stuff. Yeah, I can just get rid of the maybe that'll work. Oh, can give it a try. Sudo nano node.js demo.conf. And I'll just do the same thing I did for the webhook configuration. What do we have here? Oh, location, and then the proxy pass directive. HTTP is gonna pass to localhost. Our Node.js app is on 3000, port 3000. Okay, that should be good. It's just the same thing as for the webhook, but now in a different file. I'm just really curious what's missing up our, maybe because it says default server and we don't have a server name. That could be it though. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm just going to remove our default configuration, and I'm going to add the configuration for the app we just added. So sites available and Node.js demo conf. Great, Node.js demo.conf. Okay, let's try this. Oh, I see why. Conflicting server name. Okay, I'm gonna do this differently. I'm gonna do both in the same file because I have two server blocks with the same server name and they're conflicting. Usually, yeah. Usually you have a a server name directive. That's your domain or subdomain. And if you're using an IP, you can have the IP address, but that's going to be the same. So you're going to have to, you cannot have two server blocks with the same server name. So each server block needs to have a unique server name. What I'm going to do, I think is just easier, is to add both reverse proxy configurations in the same file, in the same server block. That's just easier. I'm going to use the, just going to use the 01 webhook file for that. Okay, so we can say everything going to the host location is forwarded to the webhook, and everything else to our app. Yep, that's it. And let's get rid of the Node.js demo conf, and let's go back to sites enabled, and we can get rid of it here as well with sudo, of course. Great, let's restart our Nginx configuration, and we should be good to go. Awesome. So here Webhook is saying, hey, the hook rules were not satisfied because we didn't pass in our secret. So that's working. And then let's see that our app is working as well. Great. Awesome. Back to where we left off. Sorry for this intermezzo. Our last step is to just to actually write a redeploy script that the webhook is going to call when it's receiving a request and it's confirmed that the request is authenticated with the secret and it's coming from GitHub. Let's navigate to the home folder because we said our redeploy script is going to be here. What did we call it again? Let's just make sure we're giving it the right name. Redeploy, this is the name. Okay, so we'll create the file. I'll just copy and paste this from the tutorial, the demo stuff, and just rename what we need. So this is going to be the same. We're going to pull from GitHub the latest commit. Thanks, Simon. Yeah, Nginx configurations always trip me up. It's not the thing that every developer has several tools and that is often using, but that you haven't really grasped down the syntax or like know how to do stuff by heart. Just like regex is another thing for me as well. I always have to look up regex syntax. I have no idea what it all looks alien to me. I've been using it forever and pretty often as well, but it never sticks. Yeah. So same thing with the Nginx configuration. It's always like, oh, what's going on? So I'm going to pull from GitHub and I'm going to use the -f flag. So in case I make any local changes on the server, on the files, I want to negate those and just pull anyway. Because if this shouldn't happen, but if you, for example, want a cowboy deploy a certain change and just go directly into your server, make a change and restart the app without going through the through GitHub, then if the script is going to try then to, if you make a change later, it's going to try to pull those changes. It's going to fail because there's a local uncommitted change. So that's what the -f flag is gonna just discard that change and just deploy anyway. So that's what we want. Install dependencies. Even though our app doesn't have dependencies, I'm just gonna leave this in here anyway. It's not gonna do anything. but most of the time you do want to install new dependencies in case you added a new dependency in your commit. And if you have any build steps, such as compiling code from TypeScript or bundling some assets from the front end, you want to do that in this step. Our app doesn't, so I'm going to leave this commented out. And then we can go ahead and restart the app with PM2. We need to use sudo though. Actually, this script needs to run under the Node.js user. And I know we can configure Webhook to do just that. I'm going to look up the configuration, execute command, yeah. Environment, okay, we can pass an environment to the command, a file, trigger rules. I thought Webhook had a configuration to say, hey, run this file as a specific user, but it doesn't. And I don't think I can use sudo in this file because it's gonna ask for a password, and we don't have it. I think this is gonna fail. Okay, what can I do here? I can either just, okay, I'm gonna save this file anyway, so it's in there. Okay, I need to figure out under what user the webhook process is running, because that's going to be the same user that's going to run the redeploy script. So then I need to figure out if that user has root access or not to run the restart command as a Node.js user. Webhook is running, I think. No, I think I started Webhook under the, wait a second. Here it is. Okay, it's under my own user. So I do have root access, but I do need a password though, which I cannot give to the script. What I'll do, I'm going to give my own user the ability to run root commands without password. And I tweeted about these recently, I think, or it's a tweet that's about to, oh, here it is. Great. So what I need to do is I'm going to edit the the sudoers file with sudo vsudo, and I'm going to add this line in it there, but I'm going to change Ansible to maximum. So I'm going to say, hey, okay, I can do it in here, just at the end. I want this user to be able to execute, to run a sudo. There's some more explanation what these three alls are for all, but it's like to run all commands, and then all users and all groups. I'm not really sure, but I'm just gonna copy it from my tweet. The thing we care about is the no password thing. That's gonna allow us to run sudo commands without asking for a password, and therefore our script will be able to restart the app automatically. We save it, exit. That should work. I think we can test that by logging into the server and just running a sudo command. See if it's asking us for the password. It doesn't. Okay, great. I had to use a new terminal shell for this because um, you won't get asked for a password every time you use sudo. So if you're within the same session, so if you, I think it's every 15 minutes or so. If you haven't used the sudo command in 15 minutes and then use the sudo command again, it's going to ask again for the password. But if I already typed in the password the first time I had to use sudo, and then afterwards you don't have to retype it. So that's why I use the new terminal session to confirm that it's not going to ask me for the password. That's great. Okay, so let's reconfirm. Okay, so our script will be able to run sudo without a password, and just go ahead and, oh, I made a typo. Good thing I do a second check here. No, yes, and it's gonna restart the app. It's gonna run the pm2 command as the Node.js user to restart the app. Thank you for joining, Simon. Yeah, this stream took way longer than I expected. I said 30 minutes, 45 initially. We're already past the hour, an hour 15 minutes, but we're almost there. Anyway, thank you for joining, Simon. I appreciate it. Uh, and I'm glad you enjoyed it as well. And yeah, I'll see you in the local 30 by 500 chat. By the way, Simon is a former student or like a student colleague. Me and me and Simon both follow 30 by 500 course by Amy and Alex. It's a business course, but not like all of the other courses. It's a audience first approach to building a product, and like basically you look for problems first, and then you figure out what your product's going to be like, instead of the usual MVP idea first. And that became really popular with Lean Startup book. Yeah, anyway, yeah, me and Simon are in that course, so that's the background for 30 by 500, so people know what I'm talking about. Let's check on if there's any more typos. No. Okay, we're done with this step. Let's see what else we have. We wrote the redeploy script. Oh yeah, I need to make it executable first. Whenever you write a bash script, you need to make it executable by giving it by running with the chmod command. Otherwise, it's going to fail to execute. Webhook is going to fail to execute that file. And I think we're good. Let's go back and activate the webhook. And okay, so I can see a green check mark, which means that a recent delivery was successful. Okay. I think we should be good. This is the moment of truth. Let's make a change in our app and see if it's live. I'm going to, straight from github.com. Hello world. Hello streamers. This is showing that auto deployments from GitHub are a success. Emoji, I like emojis. Test auto deployments. Commit. And go back to the app, refresh. Did it work? Did it work? I don't think it did. Okay, let's see what went wrong. First thing, let's see let's check the app logs. Okay, nothing happened there. So let's check I think it's the webhook that went wrong. Let's check the webhook logs, and the webhook logs have to do them with. I have to check them with, I think, journal Oh wait, I'm gonna do a quick Google systemctl logs. There's a different command for that. I think it's journalctl. Okay, journalctl webhook. Nope. Wait a second. The logs might be. No, it's not here. How do I check out the? I think they're. Oh, I forgot the -u flag. No journal files found. Where does webhook? What I'm gonna do is I'm going to run webhook in the foreground and see what happens. I think something went wrong there. Let's grab the process ID, which is 3270. I'm gonna shut down. All right, and run a webhook again. It's somewhere in my history. Might be too back in my history. I'm gonna just go back to the tutorial. It's in there. Grab it from there. Here it is. The command. Okay. Okay. Wait, it's in the background. Wait. Let's kill this new thing. So. Why isn't it giving any logs? I think it should be giving us logs, right? Maybe I need the verb. I'm gonna go to the webhook documentation and see how I can get those logs. I think it's -v, perhaps verbose. Okay, verbose. Okay. What seems to be all right. Setting up, attempting to load. Okay, it found one endpoint, and yeah, everything looks good there. I'm gonna keep this running though, so that. Oh wait, I could have done this from the first in the beginning anyway. I should check out what GitHub got in response to that call. Oh, it was a success. Let's check anyway. It was a 200. Okay, I'm gonna redeliver this payload. Okay, there we have it. So Webhook is saying that it matched the endpoint, the hook triggered, but then it failed to execute the script because, oh, I see. Branch is already up to date. Okay, so that was, yeah, that was from the first call. The errors here, the errors come from preem2. Yeah, okay. So I forgot in the redeploy script to change the name of the app. So to be Node.js demo, because that's the actual name that we ran, gave to the app, under PM2, as we can see here. PM2 list. See, the app is called demo, and we use Node.js -app, which was not found. So this should work now. Let's restart Webhook in the background this time. Awesome. I'm going to redeliver this. Oh no, Siri, I don't want you. Going to redeliver this payload, and now is the moment of truth. Refresh. Ta-da! It did work. Awesome. Okay, let's just. Oh, the emoji did not work though. Okay, apparently you cannot just respond with emojis in Node.js. Let's give it another spin to actually make sure it does work. It did work. I'm gonna add a version 2 to this. And testing auto deploys. Great. Back, refresh, bam. That's how quick it is. The app was redeployed in just seconds. Awesome. So now whenever we push to the main branch of the repository, GitHub is going to call the endpoint we set up on our server. Webhook is going to receive that endpoint, authenticate that it is indeed coming from GitHub with the shared secret, and then it's going to execute the redeploy script, and the redeploy script is going to pull up any changes made to the repository. It's going to install dependencies and restart the app, and all of that just happens in seconds if you have a small app. Otherwise, a bit longer if you have if you need to install a dependency and whatnot. But yeah, we did it with success. Awesome. That's great. I don't see any questions in the chat. Oh, I do see. Congratulations from John. Thank you. Oh, you're one of the buyers. Thank you very much. I was actually about to demo the server template today. So if you haven't gotten to using it yet, um, I'll show you how it works. Will it do everything that you just did, or has a different? It did. Yeah, exactly. It does everything we just did today. It does it out of the box with just a single command. So I'm going to show you that in a little bit. So that's the neat thing about the server template. It automates all of this. You don't have to do anything. You just deploy the app with one command, and it set up automated deploys by default and a bunch of other stuff as well. So that's pretty neat and a time saver, really. Yeah, let me just show you the demo then. I'm going to close up a few tabs here because we don't need those. We need this one though. Yeah, this one also. Here's the droplet. We can get rid of this one, and okay, great. So here's the instructions that you get with the server template. And you'll have to go through them. I hope I made them as clear as possible. If you don't, yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, ask me on Twitter. It should be pretty straightforward though. You need to install Ansible on your machine because that's what the script is using behind the scenes to actually go and provision a server for you and configure it and so on. And that's what's communicating with DigitalOcean. I already have that installed and I've done all these steps, so I don't need to do those. I'm just gonna go straight to provisioning the server by running this command. Okay. Oh, I have the instructions here. So here's everything you get by buying the server template. It's basically a zip file that has all these contents, and it's all it needs. Yeah, it's all the stuff it needs for the script to run. In the env folder, you manage the env variables of your app. And then what else you need to look out for? This is you can pick it through the files and find out like what what is really happening if you're curious and want to learn more, but you don't need to. It's you can just run the commands and have it all done for you. Let me see. So I have this server now. I'm gonna get rid of the server. We're done with this. I'm going to remove the server. I don't need it anymore. And just so I make sure, okay, this is empty. I have no service on DigitalOcean. First command that I'm going to run is to provision and configure the server. And I'm going to type in Ansible -playbook bootstrap server bootstrap-server.yaml. And let me make this big so we can see what's going on. Uh, uh, All right. So what this does is it ensures there's an SSH key uploaded to DigitalOcean, and if there's not, it's going to upload your SSH key from your machine to DigitalOcean. We already have that, so that's done. And now it's creating a droplet. We can go back to DigitalOcean and see in the dashboard that the droplet is being created by the script. And it's named my droplet. You can give it a different name. It's all explained in the instructions. But yeah, that's what it's doing right now. And this usually takes like 30 seconds or so, depending on DigitalOcean. It's done. All right. And then now it's waiting for the droplet to be available. Okay, now it's actually going to the server. Basically, what we just did before, Ansible is using SSH in the background to log into the server, and it does some housekeeping stuff. So first thing, it updates it makes sure that the server has the latest updates of all the packages. So it updates the package list and upgrades all packages installed. That's usually like a best practice to do. And every time you create a VPS, you might have an image that's a bit older from a few months back. You might have new security upgrades available. So it just does that first thing. Might take a bit depending on what packages need to be installed. Yeah. So just gonna wait for that. But yeah, basically now I'm demoing the server template, which includes automated deploys, what we just did in this stream. It includes them by default. So I'm going to show you how this works. I'm just going to run two commands. The first command is to provision and configure the server, which is what it's happening right now. And after this is done, I'm going to run a second command to deploy an application from a GitHub repository, and that's gonna set up the auto deployment as well. So after I've run the second command, I'm going to show you the application is indeed live, and I'm gonna make a change to it, and I'm gonna see it update in a few seconds, like you just saw before, with after we finish this tutorial. It's still updating. Apparently there's a lot of packages. Sometimes it's faster depending on how old the image is from DigitalOcean. If it's just a month old or so, there's not going to be that many packages to update, so it's going to be quick. But if it's older, then it might take a while. So we see what's successful, and it's going to restart the server. Some updates, especially updates that are involve the kernel, the Linux kernel, need this requires the server to be restarted. So that's what it did. It restarted the server, and now it's creating a non-root user. That's what we did in the tutorial, basically to secure the server. It added the SSH key, so we can so it's able to SSH as the user, and then it configures the firewall in here. And now it's installing Node on the server. It's actually installing nodes together with Nginx. Certbot. Certbot is used if you set up your own domain. If you configure your own domain, it's going to create a certificate for you, and it's going to auto-renew your certificate every 90 days. So you don't have to worry about that. So that's what we use Certbot for. That's a different command, which we won't use today, but it's the generate SSL command, basically. Yeah, you can find it in the instructions. It should be straightforward. All right, so it's installing it's installed PM2 configured. Let's encrypt. Now it's copying all the Nginx configuration files. It's enabled the site. It's configuring Webhook. Okay, looks like it's done. So it says server, my droplet successfully created and configured. The IP address of the server is this one, and the user is Maxim. You can configure this user, by the way, in your configuration file to be something else, whatever you want. And then we can log in into the droplet by copying this command. Let's test it out. Oh, actually, this server is done. Okay. Yeah, so we can see we're logged in as the script created for us in the my droplet server. Everything looks good. No, zero updates required to the packages. Everything's updated. Server is healthy. So I'm gonna run the second command to actually deploy the app, and I'm gonna pull up the instructions again. So yeah, normally you need to create a Github token to give the script access to your repositories. You don't need to do that if your repositories are public, but if you have private repositories, the script needs access to them, and that's how you give it access by creating a GitHub token and adding it into the configuration of the script. But already done that, so I don't need to do that. I can go straight ahead to deploying the app. There's a few requirements for the app, just that it needs to listen on a dynamic port, which our app already does, because if you go back to the app really quickly, we can see that it picks up the port from an environment variable. Otherwise, it's using 3000 by default, and you need to make sure that the application does that. That's the only requirement for it to work, because the app will get assigned a random port on the server, and it's going to use that port in the reverse proxy configuration in Nginx to figure out where the app is located. And this is the command. I'm going to copy it. Actually, let me just type it by hand. Ansible playbook deploy-app.yaml, and I'm going to pass in some extra variables. First one is the repository, a name, which is, yeah, let's go ahead with this one, node.js-demo. I can actually I have a private repository as well. That's a demo. I can go ahead with that one here, node.js-demo2, to show you that it works also with private repositories. This one is going to return a different string, but it's the same app basically. So node.js-demo2, and then the branch. So that's the branch that is your production branch. For me, it's main. So I'm going to use main. And the entry point of the app, which is index.js. But for you, might be different. App.js, server.js, whatever it is, make sure it corresponds with the entry point of your app. So let's go ahead and run this command as well. And I'm going to make this big so we can see what's going on. Oh yeah, I made a typo. It's extra vars. Okay. I made another typo, I think. It should be GitHub _ repository. Great. Always stuff going wrong. Wait, let me just. I'm gonna do it like this. All right, there we go. So now it's fetching the app from GitHub. It's installing dependencies. yeah, set up PM2. Oh, it's pretty quick, but yeah, it's basically starting. Yeah, it's clone the app, install dependencies. It's starting with PM2. It assigned a variable port. What else? It configured Nginx. It created the deploy script. It created deploy hook, what we just did before with Webhook. It restarted Nginx, and it created a webhook on github.com. So we can go now to settings and webhooks, and we can see this one is just been created by the server. So what we did before manually, that's all done by the script. And then, yeah, it was successful. App Node.js deployed. Go to your server IP and to visit your app. So let's do that. Yeah, there it is. Our app is basically live right now, and I'm going to show you how automated deployments that they come out of the box by making a change. And hello streamers again. This is showing auto deployments come out of the box with the server template for busy hackers. I came up with that name in an evening and it stuck, so I'm not going to change it. Might change it at some point if it becomes a bigger project, but it's fine now. Testing auto deploys, commit changes, and then we go back to the app, hit refresh. There it is. Yeah, so that's showing the server template in action. If you're curious to find out more, let me drop a link. Let me drop a link in the chat. I'm just gonna write it in. Can I write stuff in the chat here? No, I can't. Well, this is the link. Let me, or you can just go to my website, maximorlov.com/server template, and you'll find more info here on how it works and a brief demo as well. So yeah, that is it. John, I hope this demo was showed you a little bit how it works, and please let me know if you use the server template, how it works out for you, or if it doesn't. I'll be glad to know and help you out. There's always bugs, so if there's anything, I'm gonna fix it and make sure it works for your use case. And yeah, thank you for joining as well in this live stream. I'm gonna end now. We're at almost an hour and 45 minutes. So that's a good time to end. And I plan on making future. I can't say it's gonna be weekly, but I plan on doing more of these. And yeah. First, I'm gonna create a video. Next up is a YouTube video coming up. It might be on the same topic or just basically the tutorial in a video, or I might come up with a new subject for my next video. But that's what's gonna be next on my list. And then for the coming weeks, I'm gonna create more articles, tutorials, or just useful stuff. If you have any suggestions, feel free to drop them. I'm available on Twitter. My DMs are open. You can tweet me there. I always reply to my DMs if you have any questions as well. If you're stuck with something, I'm glad to help you out. I'm gonna write, next for the coming weeks, I'm gonna write several articles. I'm gonna publish some YouTube videos, and I'm gonna create a stream or two more. And because I enjoyed it, was fun, And yeah, if you have any feedback, let me know. I'll be glad to improve this. This was my first time. Obviously, it's not perfect. A few things went wrong, but we managed to get it done in the end. And hopefully the next versions will be smoother. Yeah, that is it. Thank you for joining, guys, and have a wonderful Friday, morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time of the day it is for you. Bye bye.